So here we are, hopefully the final video for the speaker enclosure. I got it prepped on the table. I'm gonna wipe it down. I'm gonna mix another batch of Rondo. The only difference with this one is I'm gonna actually use Bondo instead of the fiberglass resin jelly. I'm gonna thin it out a little bit more with a little bit more resin, so that way it self-levels, hopefully. And we'll go from there. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Not gonna bore you with the details. I will bring you back when I start the brushing process of laying it down. There it is. Now to let it harden and see what happens. It definitely levels out better than the resin jelly when it's added to the mix. Still has a little bit more curing to do on some of these areas because it is a little colder out than it normally is. But this should sand relatively smooth and relatively easy. And yeah, I'm excited. So I'm gonna go ahead and start block sanding this down by hand. And when everything else is dry completely, then I will kick the camera on and record a little bit of the process. So after hitting it with 80 grit to knock down all the high spots, and then going back over with 180 to smooth out the rest of the area, and then hitting it again with 220, this is where we're at. It's looking pretty even from this perspective at least. Next, I'm gonna spray it with some filler primer, just to see where the low spots and really nasty stuff is. I mean, it's gonna be wrapped in vinyl anyway, but I still wanna know, where the rough areas are. So spray painting it with filler primer is next. Get that inside the box, and then hopefully get the sub mounted to the box, just so I can start working on the wiring piece and getting the box prepped to go in the car for test time. So that's what I got going on. I'm gonna go ahead and jump into it. Okay, so box is vacuumed out, and I wanted to put the sound deadener in. So what I ended up buying I bought sound deadener. It's made by Noico Solutions. It had a 5-star rating on Amazon. It's got an 80 mil thickness and covers a total of 5 square feet. So I'm going to cut this thing open for the first time with y'all bearing witness, and we'll see what the quality is of this stuff. Like I said, it had 5-star reviews, and everybody said it was great for the price compared to the cost of the other stuff, of Dynamat and whatnot, at almost 4 times the cost. I will link this in the description of the video below, so anybody who wants to purchase some for yourself can do so. But they have it in 5, 10, 15, and 20 square foot increments. So, first impression, it's seems really strong. It's definitely thick. Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and start putting it in and cutting it down and getting it to fit. I'm gonna put it on the back wall and the floor to start with, and then I'll go from there. So I bought 5 square feet, and what's left is that right there. That's all that remains of the 5 sheets of sound deadener. I'll go ahead and show you on the inside of the box what it looks like, and yeah, I think it'll be pretty good. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and wet sand it real fast and call it a night, because as you can see, it's dark. Yeah. Oh well. Now that everything is sanded down and it's smooth to my liking, what I want to do now, as you can see, I test fit the sub fits great. It's got even spacing all the way around the sub, which is nice. So I'm happy with that. So now what I need to do is I need to install the sub, but I want to install it in a way that isn't going to destroy the wooden ring that I've already made, because if I got to take this sub out over and over again, every time I unscrew it, it's just going to mess up the wood again. So to alleviate that issue, I bought these easy locks. I got the idea from a car audio fabrication channel on YouTube. I will actually link the video that I got the idea from in the description below. You can screw down into the wood, and then they're threaded, so you can actually thread your bolts into them, and it allows you to take the sub in and out anytime you want without damaging the wood every time you do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna use my tap here. I'm gonna get a hammer, I'm gonna tap the holes down inside each screw just to get the center locations. I'll pop the sub out, and then I'll pre-drill the hole to the size specification, and then tap these in. And hopefully everything goes to plan. So I'm gonna go ahead and knock that out. So as I said, I'm gonna be using these easy locks to get this done. To install the easy locks, you can see I already did one here. To install these easy locks, you're gonna need your, obviously the easy locks for one. You're gonna need a drill with I think this is a 1/4 inch drill bit. Now that I got all the holes drilled out, as you can see, I'm going to go ahead and swap out my drill bit for the other bit that I was using, and then we'll tap these easy locks into place using that. Once we get them all tapped in, we'll take the sandpaper and we'll sand off the top of them just to clean up the excess. So now that everything's sanded smooth, I reprimed the areas just to clean it up a little bit. Didn't have to, but I did anyway because it's just who I am. I went and bought some 1024 1/2-inch length screws to go into the self-tapping threads that we just put in the box. So I'm gonna go ahead and test fit the sub, and hopefully all the screw mounts on the sub line up with all the self-tap mounts that I just installed. That would be shitty if they didn't. So I'm gonna do that now. Alright, so all the screws are in. Everything mounts up and lines up well. I'm gonna go ahead and take it out so I can start wiring and get everything set up. So I'm gonna do that next. Wiring job is complete for the most part. Basically took the wiring coming out of the box. The sub is wired down from a dual voice coil 4-ohm load to a 2-ohm load, as you can see from the wiring configuration. I'm not going to go into too much detail about the wiring configuration because you can look at all these configurations set different and stuff online everywhere and anywhere. So I'm not going to go too in depth on that. I didn't do any actual plug boxes or anything on the back of the box. I didn't really want to find a flat spot to mount it. So what I did do instead, I drilled a hole out the exact size of the cord, and then I plastic nailed, silicone sealed the hole shut. It's still curing because it's about 44 degrees outside right now, but once it's dry, it'll be good to go. Last thing, since I do have a spare tire, I wanted to be able to get the box out relatively quickly. So what I did, I went and bought a quick disconnect from Walmart. It's made by Atwood. It's for a trolling motor for, you know, small boats. It's in the sporting goods section. It's about 10 bucks. I got it wired to the leads coming out of the box, and the other ones will be wired into the amplifier. So that way all I got to do is just pull the disconnect and it's free. So now that that's done, I'm going to take the sub leads back off, put this wire back in the box, and start looking at the leatherette that I'm going to be wrapping the box in. So I'm going to go ahead and scoop that out myself, take a look at it off camera, and then I'll bring it back on once I get something figured out. contact cement to work the way it's supposed to. It's supposed to be done in 65 degrees or better with temperatures consistently at that level. Clearly, as I just said earlier, it's 48 degrees right now, so that is not going to work in my favor. So what I did do, hopefully it works out, we'll see. I heated up the can and the box itself at 700 degrees for about 10-12 minutes. The box itself is relatively warm now. The can itself is relatively warm now, and I can continue to do that throughout the process of waiting for this to tack up. So basically, how this weld wood works, you apply it to the object, you apply it to the material, and then you let both dry. Once they've completely dried, then you apply the two pieces together, and that's when they'll actually start to bond and go together. But in order to do that first, I got to get everything coated in this freaking glue. So I'm going to go ahead and knock that out now, and bring you along for the ride. So I got a little bit left to do. I got to pull the back side up back in here and apply more glue to the back side, let it harden, reapply glue to here so I can get this back final little sections locked down and locked in place and tight. Peel this up a little bit to about right there all the way around, re-glue that, make sure it's nice and tight too, and then fix this little corner right here. But other than that, yeah, it's about done. I'm gonna cut these flaps off at the edge. I'm gonna leave them on the actual backside, so that way, you know, it's just a little extra support, a little more support to hold the material in when I mount the sub down. But yeah, it's coming along. Holes cut, subs installed, it's all wrapped up. From the face, it is nice and clean. Edges are nice and clean all the way around. Everything is neat, clean, and orderly. The back is the back. I'm not going to see the back. It is what it is. Cable's good. Everything's dry. I'm going to plug it in, hook it up to the amp, and see what happens. So, stand by. Well, after a test fit and a power on, everything works. It looks really good. It fits really good, as you can see. The wrap came out great. It's all the way back in where it's supposed to be. Nice, neat, and clean. That is a god-awful mess, but small victories, that is gonna be a job for another day. As I said, the amp's gonna go under the passenger seat, and the LC2i is gonna go up in that corner under the carpet, somewhere in there where it fits. So, in regards to the box build, this concludes it. It's all done. For those that followed along this whole time, I appreciate it. And I hope that you stick around, because I have a lot of other stuff coming up in the future. Yeah, awesome. You guys have a great day, and you know, keep on keeping on. Out.